What brand?
Tennis.
Tennis?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice.
I'm Mary.
I'm Michael.
I'm Jean.
I'm Anna.
Today on our TJX field report, we'll be taking you to TJ Maxx not once, but 4 times. First, as a non-consumer, then a consumer, then an employee, and finally as a CEO or executive. Oh, you grab that.
So our group decided to visit the TJ Maxx located on 360 Newberry Street. On a sunny mid-60 degrees Friday morning, we departed from Northeastern at the Krentzman Quad and walked via Huntington Avenue and Massachusetts Avenue, roughly half a mile to Newberry Street. Once there on the street, we noticed that foot traffic was moderate, as we would expect from a Friday morning, but nothing like the weekend traffic must be. Also, on arrival, we noticed that the public transport scene was very good, as the Green Line stopped literally next door at the Heinz Convention Center, making anywhere on the Green Line accessible to this location. Also, street parking was plentiful, and there's a Somerset garage located on 425 Newberry Street, so if we were to choose to drive to this TJ Maxx, it would be very accessible. Also, located just a mile down the road is Nordstrom Rack, one of TJ Maxx's closest competitors, and there are numerous other clothing stores dotting the area around TJ Maxx, including Forever 21 and Rag & Bone.
So I went into this store looking as a non-consumer and my age demographic as a female 18-year-old, so a teenager. And so when I first entered the store, the first thing I noticed was the beauty section. And so as an 18-year-old teenager, I really like going into stores and shopping at places that are very aesthetically pleasing. And when I first saw the beauty section, that's the first thing I thought. It was color-coded a lot, as you can see by the orange and the blues. And then also they had in the front shelves a lot of brand names that I knew by name. So Clinique and Shiseido. I saw also Glam Glow, which I've heard of a lot, which is like a face mask. So that was very nice as like a first impression of the store. A lot of likes that I had within the store. One of them was that you could see some of the brand names that I know of and heard of. So you could find Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, and all of these things at discounted prices. You can see this bracelet that I know a lot of people wear, and it's very high end, but I can get it for $20 at TJ Maxx. And then also, you can see they have a high turnover by the fact that they have a lot of holiday things on display. So in the home goods area of the TJ Maxx on the 3rd floor, you could see that they had a lot of Thanksgiving things. They had a lot of October, Halloween kind of festive items. And then also they had a lot of things geared towards my age. So a little bit, they had some of the trendy things like the hydro flasks or those kinds of items that are trend right now. Some of my dislikes were that while a lot of them were discounted, and I know this was the runway section, like I saw this coat and I was like, wow, I could see myself buying this coat for a night out or something. But then when I looked at the price, it was still only $800. And I understand it's like half off, which is amazing, but for my age and even with working over the summers, I still wouldn't buy a coat that's $800. Another thing for me, I mentioned that I like aesthetics, is that when I was at the store, I noticed a bunch of boxes, both plastic and cardboard, and I kind of just assumed that they left them out, but I soon realized after Mary pointed out to me that they actually have products that you can buy in them. I just personally, the look of them was very off-putting to me. Also, as you can see, the usual stores I shop at are like Urban Outfitters, Forever 21. You can see the layout of the stores are very pleasing to the eye, whereas TJ Maxx wasn't bad, but there were some things that were off-putting to me, just in the way where sometimes it was like the floor was either tile or wood, and it just kind of switched all of a sudden. And then also another fact of it was that some of the different areas of the store didn't flow very well into the other areas. Like on the 3rd floor, there's the men's shopping section, and then all of a sudden there's a home goods section, which just didn't make sense to me. most of the people that shop in the home goods area are the women.
So I chose to look at it from more of a customer perspective, breaking it down to things that might appeal to first the existing target market, then further 14 to 24-year-olds, and finally other, which I would consider men and maybe some of the different income brackets and things like that. And so first with the target market, when you first walk in, the first rack that I picked up on was umbrellas, which didn't surprise me because the day before it had rained. And part of what makes TJ Maxx cool is that all of their things are on wheels, so they're able to do something like that. And if I were a 30-year-old woman who had forgotten her umbrella the day before and I saw that, I might say, that's something I need. Another thing I noticed is that they very clearly laid out the price difference, which for someone who's going in and looking for that treasure hunt feel and to find a deal would be very appealing. Also, as soon as you go up the escalator, the first section of the second floor is women's designer dresses, which is also something very directly targeted towards that target market. As far as 15 to 24-year-olds, this was maybe a little easier for me to pick out because that's who I am. They had their download our app is one thing that I saw, and Jay will talk a little bit about the app later, but that definitely seemed targeted towards the younger generation who's more into apps and iPhones and all of those things. I also noticed that many of the racks, especially in the junior department, were very, not necessarily disheveled, but had that treasure hunt feel as obvious by that rack. And that was definitely playing towards the younger generation, I think. And a big thing I know I like to do with my friends is go thrifting, and in some ways it gives that feel. I also think that the boxes that Anna talked about are significant because it, again, you kind of get to dig through it and see what you can find, and that felt like something that maybe someone of the older generation wouldn't necessarily find appealing, but someone who's going in looking for that treasure hunt feel would enjoy. They also had, right at the checkout, a snack section that said grab and go snacks at discount prices, which as a college student living on my own for the first time was kind of the first thing I was drawn to. I was like, oh, I could use some more snacks in the dorm room for a discount. Yes. So I felt like that was also geared towards the younger generation. Other non-target market appeals that they had were the chairs, which we have talked about in class, for the men out there and maybe the non-shoppers, kids, things like that. I also noticed that when we went up onto the third floor, the racks kind of seemed more separated and in an organized fashion, which to me, I was thinking about it and how maybe if you're going to the store for something specific, you would prefer. And I feel like when men go shopping, they maybe are looking less to spend a long time there, things like that, so that kind of helped with that. They also did have some brand shelves and things like that, which I also think was to help people who maybe aren't looking to just go look and actually want to find something, as well as things like the designer section, and that's actually a case that has a lock on it, and I think that that's looking to appeal to someone who wants a higher end, more expensive item. And finally, when looking through their food section, a lot of it was maybe some more unique foods and like health-driven foods. So it felt like in the food department, they were gearing it towards more health-conscious people.
So from the moment we walked into the store, we realized that the employees were pretty scarce. Number just around 1 to 2 per floor. And we realized that this is probably because they want to facilitate the treasure hunt feel in their stores as we were shopping. None of us throughout our entire visit were ever approached by an employee while we were roaming the racks. And we figured that this is because if they were approaching us and asking if we needed help to find items, that it would detract from the treasure hunt feel that the TJX Corporation pushes so hard in its marketing mantra. Besides this though, if we look on that image, there are certain items that are required in the store for an employee to access, such as women's handbags and men's fragrances. This is because they're more expensive and they want to prevent petty theft. Now besides this, the only reason you need to interact with an employee is at checkout, of course, to purchase your items.
So, like, I was looking at based on like the TJX like business model, and they did have a good variety of clothes, and I thought it was like great that it was organized by color for people to easily choose what they want, and the pricing was actually like in the like range, and especially because runway was like I saw consistently was 50% off, which I thought was like good as if I was a employer. Max for in case like people wanted it, because that would be like a higher like turnover, like not turnover but like higher profit. And then there's also a good turnover rate, because I went to the store like 2 weeks ago when I was looking for some dorm things, and then that was like when I went up the escalator, and then 2 weeks later, now when I went with the group, it changed to all like women's dresses and women's coats to approach the fall season. And they had holidays displays to kind of show for like the because now it's like holiday season, it's where you start getting like a lot of store profits. And I thought that was good. That was like lots of store like holiday displays all over, and nothing was bolted down, as a lot of TJX stores are supposed to be leased. But then I thought it was interesting that they promoted their website and app, because personally when I went onto the app store and checked, it was like only a 2-star rating, and a lot of people did not like it, did not leave good reviews. So I thought it was interesting that they kept on promoting it throughout the store. But I did like how they also promoted the loyalty program so people could come back. But then when I was going to like things such as the beauty section, or upstairs in the home goods, like the clean section, it was very disheveled, and there's a lot of open products. So as like possibly like CEO or employer, I try to like maybe find a solution to like prevent a lot of these. And a lot of items, like such as in that lower left picture, like a lot of items, like even though it's for people like to sort through, I still feel like it's kind of puts other customers such as like a non-consumer off. So like I feel like there should be a better solution for it.
Thank you for listening. Are there any questions?
Yeah. I know through the comparison of Urban Outfitters and TJ Maxx, the aesthetics are very different, and I saw that the Urban Outfitters had a lot of like mannequins and showcasing the actual like pieces. Do you think mannequins, like I know that TJ Maxx doesn't really have mannequins, do you think that would work with that treasure hunt feel, or do you think that like even if they were on the mannequin, like people couldn't buy them?
Speaking from personal experience, I know where I live, there's a TJ Maxx in the Marshalls, and in the Marshalls, I have seen mannequins kind of just displaying how certain clothing items could be worn. So I think that they could be utilized, but shouldn't be utilized in an excessive amount, because then it could take away from that.
What do you think a solution to the open boxes could be?
Personally, honestly, like they could still have the boxes, because I get that that's part of the treasure hunt appeal, but they could have them in maybe not in cardboard boxes that looks like they're throwing things away. Maybe like nicer little boxes and like cuter, like more slightly pleasing boxes. Like I got for my room at Home Goods, I got these like nice little like boxes that have like felt around them that look nicer, but they're like the same idea and just put a bunch of stuff in them. So maybe that instead of just random cardboard boxes.
The clearance photo that you have here, how would you categorize that as beauty or cosmetics, or what would you say? A lot of open items, and so what sort of categories would that fall in, do you think?
It's just like I feel like in general, just like a lot of beauty things and a lot of cosmetics, just because people may want to see it, or like. But sometimes I also so yeah, maybe like I would want like maybe like, you know how in Sephora they have like a little try-on section, so like maybe a little bit of that, just so people don't have to like open it, and then like kind of that deters other buyers from the product.
What did you find as the worst, as a consumer, as a shopper, the worst attribute of the store?
I think personally for me, going in as a non-consumer, I mean that's what I was trying to look at in the store, but that really is my viewpoint, since I never really shop at a lot of TJX stores. I was thinking about it the other day, and someone mentioned it, how a lot of the racks for women, like they're so, like they're too dense in a way where it's hard to look through. Like I was kind of trying to look through the clothes, and I gave up after like 30 minutes because I just didn't have the energy
Yeah, what was the most negative thing in the store?
Probably like personally, I'm a size small or like I'm petite in a lot of areas, and I don't really see like a lot of like clothing for petite, so I always like tend to get oversized clothing rather here. So it'd be nice to have like more of an actual petite section.
Okay, Michael?
For me personally, it's just that if I didn't have the largest selection of men's items, like I'm kind of picky when it comes to certain things, and I know nothing about fashion. And the fact also that the employees didn't interact much, because I'm practically clueless. I could use some help when it comes to picking out items.
Yeah. I think they should have a clueless button.
The rest of you would probably help, but in general, I don't think it would.
Three employees come running out when you press the button to help you shop. Yeah, okay. And Mary, what do you think?
For me, I would say the most negative aspect was navigating the store. I had never been to that one before, and you had to go up at least one flight to get to any real clothing items, and go up another flight, and kind of the layout of it felt a little funny to me too.
Yeah. In really dense urban locations, if retailers want to be there, it's very uncommon that they'll be able to satisfy their selling floor area needs on a single floor. If you go to the stores down in downtown Crossing, there's some of the stores are bigger, but yeah, this is especially in the Back Bay, really tough to. If you want to be in the Back Bay, you know it's likely to be multi-floor. Okay, great job. Well done.